But what else matters, Jay? Recruiting. It's recruiting season, and the Oklahoma Sooners got some good news on Wednesday night. We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Oklahoma Sooners got a couple of future casts for four-star edge rusher out of Duncanville, KJ Ford. Parker Thune and Brandon Drum of OU Insiders and Rivals issued the future casts on Wednesday evening for KJ Ford. We've discussed him in the past. We both really, really like his game and think he's got the potential to be a big-time playmaker at the collegiate level.
Yeah, I love Kevin Ford. Now, if you've watched me over on my channel on Fair Sports, I've talked about him extensively, and we'll probably have another video going up looking at more film on him, but kid's good. And being from Duncanville, a school that Oklahoma would like to get their hands in and have an opportunity to start snatching up some of those players. Those kids seem to go everywhere in the country, from LSU to Texas to Oregon. They're all over the place. Bama. Oklahoma would like to get their hands on some of those players, and Kevin Ford is one of those players that I think we have a really good chance on. Like you mentioned, Parker Thune and Brandon Drum over there at OU Insider have already put in some future casts that Oklahoma could win them. He's a top 200 player in the country at 6'3", 225 pounds right now, and he plays a lot bigger than that. Texas A&M was the school to beat, it felt like, for a while. Them and SMU, because we all know SMU is flying up the charts now because of them now moving into a P4 conference. SMU is becoming a problem for a lot of people. But if Oklahoma can land him, he's already visited the school 6 times, and he's got another visit lined up. He's supposed to be coming for spring game. He'll be here in the summer. It sounds like Miguel Chavis has done everything that he's supposed to do to win his services. And, man, that will be a huge boost for this class if he pulls up.
Yeah, Oklahoma doesn't currently have anybody committed on the defensive side of the ball for the 2026 cycle. If you get KJ Ford, Kevin Ford, that would be huge, man. He's a really, really good player that brings an edge and a nastiness to your defensive line, and someone who can play early. I mean, he's got that potential because he's got good athleticism, already has some refined pass rush moves. He plays the run well, and he's got a really, really good motor. So he sounds like a perfect Miguel Chavis defensive end, if you ask me. You said 225. Well, 247 Sports has got him listed at 245. So I don't know if they've got an update for us there, but the dude's already got good size. Even at 225, you know that Schmitty could do something with it to get him up to 240, 245, where he can contribute. A lot of recruiting things happening. Valden Sohn, the Swedish prospect by way of Virginia prep football, is already got a official visit locked in with the Oklahoma Sooners for Champion Barbecue.
Yep. For the 20th of June. That weekend appears to be a massive one. I've got a list of a lot of the names that are coming through, and John, it's getting extensive. So I'm pretty excited to see what the recruiting looks like for the team here. We also got Caden Hall, the number 2 safety based upon On3's top 300 players. He's out of Florida. He's going to be at Oklahoma also on the 20th. So they're in a battle with Penn State, Florida State, and Alabama for potentially his service. So Brandon Hall is already, he's putting in work for additional good talent to go into that safety room that he's already built into. Personally, I believe is going to be a monster room for us. But he's another big time player that has a good chance of, Oklahoma has a good chance of actually trying to win the services of. 6'3", 175. That's a big safety.
Yeah, Oklahoma's done a really good job recruiting the safety position thanks to Brandon Hall over the years. I mean, they've got a really nice room right now, and I would not be surprised to see them continue to stack impressive talent. Anybody else that's really standing out right now for Oklahoma that you're really high on?
Mason James, the wide receiver out of Norman, Oklahoma. He dropped his top 10. And, of course, the Sooners were on that list. He's considered the number 1 player in the state of Oklahoma based upon On3. Between him and Taj Overton, the defensive tackle out of Owasso up in Tulsa. He is in the Tulsa area, Owasso, Oklahoma. He also is another prospect that I think that Oklahoma can land. If Oklahoma can do a really good job of landing everybody in their backyard first, and then make sure they expand out, get some Florida kids, California kids, kind of like we did with with Jaden O'Neal as well as Daniel Odom. Class could turn out to be a nice, top 10, top 15 class that we need to make sure that we get our hands on in order to be competitive in the SEC. But Vaughn and Sohn coming in and having that visits already, quote unquote, announced he'll officially come and visit, man, I'm stoked for that official visit because he's one big defensive tackle. You get him, you may have solidified yourself there for a couple of years.
Another one that's really fascinating, Josh McCuistion of Sooner Scoop and On3 wrote on Wednesday that the Oklahoma Sooners got an official visit scheduled with Jonathan Hatton. He's the big, bruising, physical running back that was committed as part of the Oklahoma Sooners 2026 recruiting class. The first commitment, if I'm not mistaken, and had been committed for a long time before decommitting and then just kind of opening it up so we could see what the options out there were. Josh McCuistion writing that looked like he was drifting towards Texas A&M, but the Oklahoma Sooners now have his final official visit for Champ U Barbecue. And that would be intriguing. If they could find a way to get that recommitment, I think that'd be huge because the dude is very, very talented.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite running backs in the class. And it was funny because I remember when he committed, it just came out of nowhere. You're like, who's this dude? Don't even remember that. Like, I don't think he made his visit yet. But he was sold on DeMarco Murray and what Oklahoma was doing. And then, like you mentioned, after his junior year, there was a lot of conversation that Texas A&M has started moving in and really starting to work on him, especially with, the way that they've been working with their running backs and, some running backs getting out of there. There's going to be an opportunity for him to probably play extremely early. And Hatton was, he was intrigued by it, decided to decommit. Says Oklahoma is still on his list, but he wanted to really open up his recruitment and really get out and do some visits since he committed at such a young age because he was a sophomore when he committed. But now it looks like you said, Oklahoma's got a chance of trying to get him back in the saddle. But because you add him with like a Caden Jones, oh man, that would be crazy. That would be real good. But also you got what's that? Riley Morris, another running back that he's committed. Well, he was committed to Baylor. I think he decommitted now. And it sounds like Oklahoma has a good chance of getting his services too. March and April are going to be crazy months for us as recruiting junkies because this is the time when you're going to start seeing a bunch of decommits, commitments, all the visits being announced. We're going to stay busy. And
a lot's going to depend on how Oklahoma performs this year. If they go and they beat Michigan, you could probably see several commitments happen not long after that. They go and they beat Auburn. They beat Texas. Things are going to change. The trajectory of the opinion on Oklahoma football is going to change drastically. And I think you might see a lot of players take a wait and see approach. But if Oklahoma has success in 2025, they'll be back in the top 10 in the recruiting class rankings. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. You can also follow the show on all your favorite social media platforms at Locked On Sooners. Sorry, the cold has just got my mouth all mumbled jumbled. I'm surprised I made it through the show. Follow us on all your favorite social media platforms at Locked On Sooners. I hope you all are staying warm out there, staying safe, driving the roads. Be careful out there. Stay home if you can. If you got to get out, just drive slow, drive safe, and take care of your people. Stay warm and bundle up. But for Jay Smith, I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you next time. Boomer.
Sooner. Brr, it's cold.
It's cold.